overcome now, completely silent now, with heaven's help. You cast your demons out. And not to pull your halo down around your neck and tug you off your cloud. But I'm more than just a little curious how you're planning to go about making your amends to the dead. To the dead. Recall the deeds as if they're all someone else's atrocious stories. Now you stand reborn before us all. So glad to see you well. And not to pull your halo down around your neck and tug you to the ground. But I'm more than just a little curious how you're planning to go about making your amends to the dead. To the dead. With your halo slipping down, your halo slipping, your halo slipping down. Your halo slipping, your halo slipping down, your
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body. Because I am more than physical matter, I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. I deeply desire to expand, to experience, to know, to understand, to control, to use such greater energies and energy systems as may be beneficial and constructive to me and to those who follow me. I deeply desire the help and cooperation, the assistance, the understanding of those individuals whose wisdom, development, and experience are equal to or greater than my own. I ask their guidance and protection from any influence or any source that might provide me with less than my stated desires.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about fire. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family amongst lords of consciousness. I am the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting live from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void live Friday night, August the 1st. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the late night. As the light fades here in the studio, so does my face for some reason. So figure we go old school because we're going to be talking about some old school stuff tonight. Before we get into that, though, I want to give a big shout out to the new subs real quick. Some of you guys, I can't say your name, so I was gonna say this last time when I was here, but I just forgot. Hey, Bryce, wait, let me make sure Bryce is here with me. I got my backup in case everything goes to shit. You're still here, aren't you, Bryce?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, yeah. I got tech. It's live, and I got, I think we're actually broadcasting from a shack. We don't have a bunch of fancy streaming lights and stream decks and none of that good stuff. So it's just old school rough stuff. But tonight I want to talk about something that has been on my mind for a minute. But let me thank these new subs real quick: Cameron Gordon, Catherine Thompson, Azrael Mariani, Subvolt Ray, Braziel 5. Hey, Captain Fans, Fish Advisor Charters down in Fort Lauderdale. If you guys are down there, check him out, man, and go fishing. That's something you're never going to forget. Also, Stale Nixon, Donna White, Farhad, Goo Goddard, and Jim Good. I got to think half of those names are fake. I would think, right? And to the new Patreon who signed up for a year, to the Frisco Kid. Thanks for signing up. So, yeah, the light's fading here, and the only light that I have in the studio is actually fading out. It's fading almost all the way out. I thought I was. You remember I was talking to you, Bryce, the other night. I said I think I'm either passing out or the light's fading out in here, and you was like, you were like, I don't think you're passing out, man, but it sure felt like it.
No, you weren't. Definitely weren't passing out.
So I wanted to talk about this subject. Sometimes we talk about more than just the out-of-body experience or conscious exploration. Sometimes we talk about deeper things, esoteric things. I would say, I know, I wouldn't say occult, but deeper things for sure, like esoteric things. And there's this thing that's, I know this is going to offend people, but I don't really care because I want to look at this idea of what we call the morning star. And I apologize about any tech issues we're having, just live stuff. But the morning star is a thing that needs to be discussed. Now, if you're like super Orthodox Christian or if you're religious, then I'm probably going to offend you a little bit, but I hope not. I hope not here. Candles. Let's go. I used to broadcast in here. I don't know if Bryce was around, but you probably were, Wolf, back in the day when the power used to go out here in the shack all the time. Every time a storm would hit, I'd be like recording, in the candlelight. Teddy Slater says, "What's up, man? Finally made it to Florida. I'm near Daytona, your old spot, brother. I miss that place. Daytona Beach is like the perfect. It's like the perfect kind of mix up between redneck and salt life, and also roughneck, and just a few. It's just like a melting pot of cool stuff and rough stuff. I love that place. Beautiful beach too. Hope you're enjoying your stay." Yeah, you remember the candles. So, we're going to get into this. I kind of want to talk about that. I'm not ready to talk about it yet, but I'm kind of almost ready to talk about that what is it called? Atlas, A1 Atlas, 31 Atlas, whatever that thing that people are thinking is possibly an alien probe, possibly some kind of alien craft. It's the third interstellar object to come around and start doing weird stuff here. But I ain't quite ready to talk about that yet, even though I'm excited about it. But I've been hearing two different things on the internet. And Bryce said this the other day. He said, it seems like the internet has become a place where you can just pick your answer now, right? So what were we looking up when you said that? Whether like a game was crossplay or some shit?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'd pull up one article and it'd be like, oh, yeah, it's crossplay. And another article's like, it's definitely not. Well, it's the same thing with this Atlas thing. I've pulled up articles that say, well, it's going to hit this year, October, and it even has the year 2025, October, possibly November, December. And then other articles are saying that it'll be here in 2 years in 2027. So I don't know. I got to do some more real, I guess, research to figure out what the hell's really going on with this thing. But I do know that it's coming at us incredibly fast, at an incredibly high velocity, almost straight, and it's going by, I think, Jupiter, Mars. It's going by a few planets, and then it's going to pop around like the back of the sun or something. They're just saying it's really, really weird. So it could be. I mean, it could be an alien probe. I don't know. What's up, Dutch? Anyways, let's get into this thing. So the Morning Star. Here's the thing. Back in the day, I used to listen to Bill Cooper. Now, Bill Cooper would talk about the mysteries, but he was really, really kind of preaching against the mysteries, about how there was some type of global tyrannical thing happening with the Freemasons and all of the Western mystery schools, and that they were against Christianity as a whole, and that it was some kind of grand conspiracy. That's what I remember him talking about. But I don't believe that's totally true even to this day. But there was a moment on that radio show where he said that he'd never understood why that in the text, in the biblical text, that both Christ and Lucifer called themselves the morning star. And I'm a night owl, especially as of late. I've been battling with a lot of health stuff, so you don't get to sleep very well when you battle with that. And I'm always up around the witching hour and a little after, and I see this star every night in the eastern sky, just before dawn, a single light in the sky, a solitary, it's really bright. It looks like a UFO sometimes, but it's a solitary star that holds its ground against, I guess you could say, the retreating dark, right before the morning. It's been mistaken for a UFO 1,000 times, but it's simply just Venus. But the ancients called it the herald of the morning, the light before the sun, which is the morning star. But in our scriptures, this symbol carries a strange paradox. So, in one breath, we hear of Lucifer, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning," which is in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 12. And in another, we hear Christ himself proclaims, "I am the bright and morning star." And that's in Revelations 22, chapter 16. Before we proceed, I want you to know that, like, I have no qualms against Christianity, religion, or anything like that. I also believe myself that there was a man that, obviously, our timeline's based around this guy named Jesus, but we should investigate this further, like what all this was written about. How can this be? How can the same name belong to both the rebel cast down and the Savior lifted up? So I guess tonight we might step into the void, or I guess that twilight between the night and the dawn, and ask, what does it mean to be a light bearer? Not Lucifer, not evil, not really. I've had a conversation, some pre-conversations with people, Bryce included, and your take on it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, brother, but your take on it is that it's a mythology, right? You think it's just all one big myth?
It seems like a mythology. When you start including all the angels and all the demons and all that stuff of the Catholic side of the whole thing, it definitely plays out like a mythology.
Mm-hmm. It does, doesn't it? Like a lot of the writings are. I mean, if we looked at the Bible like it's some kind of history book, we're not being rational or reasonable. There are historical references and maps and things, but if it's like perfect history, there's no way we can look at it that way. I mean, if we're being rational, or actual recountings. I mean, even the name of Jesus, which is a beautiful name, has been tossed around. Well, was his name Jesus? Was his name Yeshua? Was his name Yeshua ben Joseph? Yeshua ben David? Yeshua, I've heard it even called. Like, there's so many different names. But only thing we do know, we don't know of a Lucifer. We don't really know of a devil. These are all stories we've been told. We haven't seen one. The only thing that we know is our timeline has been based around something that happened in Rome. And there's writings from Josephus and other people that talk about this that are not biblical. Don't even have anything to do with the Bible. That there was a gathering of people that believed in this certain guy, and that he was crucified in Rome. Like, we know this, right? Or wherever he was crucified, the Romans crucified him. That's what the texts say. Other texts, not biblical texts. But if we really look into it, let's begin with like Lucifer. Just the name itself. So the name itself doesn't come from Hebrew. It comes from the Latin Vulgate, Lucifer. I don't know what people are thinking, right? Like, he's going to try to turn us to the dark side. Not at all. We're just investigating this together. So the Latin Vulgate, Lucifer, meaning light bearer or morning star in Hebrew. The original phrase was Hillel ben Shachar, meaning shining one or son of the dawn. It wasn't even a proper name. Now, in the book of Isaiah, the prophet is mocking the king of Babylon, comparing him to a star fallen from the sky, or a cosmic metaphor for pride brought low. This wasn't Satan at the time. This is the one thing that we see in the Bible where he's talking about Lucifer, right? But it wasn't Satan at the time. So was he really talking about a character, or was it a cosmic metaphor? But he wasn't Satan yet. See, that comes later. I got an AI. I think this is an AI picture of Lucifer. Let's see if I can get this. When you just type it in, and I kind of messed with it, but then I just found one someone already made. Doesn't look so scary. All right. So it was the church fathers like Jerome and later Augustine who fused this image with Satan. And over time, Lucifer evolved into the myth of the angel who rebelled against God. The light bearer all of a sudden turned enemy. So remember that. When you do your research, look up the church fathers Jerome and Augustine and the story of Satan. So here's where it gets a little weird. So what if Lucifer wasn't always evil? Now, in some mystical traditions, this guy was seen less as a villain and more as like the shadow side of enlightenment, or the dangerous edge of forbidden knowledge, kind of like Prometheus stealing fire. Lucifer represents the peril of light too soon, or maybe light misused. And in some texts, I would say even occult or satanic groups, they consider Lucifer a person to follow. But if we look at what like Bryce is saying, if it really is kind of like a mythology, then Lucifer could represent the peril of light too soon or light misused. But in the Middle Ages, there were poets who described him as the fairest of all angels. And when I grew up, my father used to tell me the same thing. You know, the devil doesn't come as scary. He comes in, he's beautiful and tempting. Where did these stories come from? Where did this idea come from that my father would tell me? And this came from the Middle Ages. So even in his fall, he was beautiful. So does that mean like Lucifer is pride incarnate, or the echo of light that we're not ready to face? Is it a metaphor? Or is there really some angel named Lucifer that's here to trick us all and tempt us all? And is he really Satan? Because so far, according to the research, he wasn't Satan. Not until Jerome and Augustine started talking about him as Satan. Two men, church fathers. Okay. Just take that with a grain of salt. So I think that's all I kind of wanted to say as the introduction to this whole Lucifer or morning star thing. Now, the mystery schools, we face the East, but we'll get into that here in a minute. Like, why are we facing the East? What does that mean? I'm sure you've heard it all in conspiracy circles, man. Like all of these occultists and esotericists and people, they're worshiping Satan, they're worshiping Lucifer, they're worshiping the sun. They're not Christians. They're going to burn in hell. They're here to tempt you. They're here to change your mind about things. God, I was hoping like in 2025 all of this would go away, but it's still here. Here's some other things too, though, that I want to read to you just real quick from the book of Isaiah. The same book, the first time that we ever heard Lucifer, it all comes from the same book. So chapter 45, verse 3 says, I will give thee treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that thou may know that I, the Lord, which call thee by name, am the God of Israel. Now, I'm not saying that is the word of God. We have to take into consideration that the book of Isaiah was supposedly written by the prophet Isaiah, but when you dig in and do more research, you realize there were several authors probably involved, several men involved, claiming to have downloaded the Holy Spirit and put it into text. So that's not much different than, technically, than, say, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, downloaded and put into text. But this was a long time ago. Now, I got to change pictures. I'm not used to this yet. So, let's see. Do I have one of Prometheus? So we get into this whole light bearer, kind of Prometheus looking dude. But next, remember, they both called themselves the morning star, both Lucifer and Christ, right? So now that we turn to Christ, the one who names himself the bright and morning star, in the book of Revelation, chapter 22, verse 16, this image is the finale or the promise of dawn after the long night. So in ancient astronomy, the morning star Venus was the light or the last light before the sunrise. So to call Christ the morning star is to call him kind of hope itself, or the sign that light has come even before we see the sunrise. It's not so much about like sun worship, like people think. People just want simple explanations. You're worshiping the sun. Well, I mean, the Egyptians did worship the movement. I would say aggrandized, worshipped, or celebrated the movements of the sun and all the stars. And it's the very foundation of our religion. I don't want to get too big into astrotheology. You guys have studied Jordan Maxwell, right? So you know all about that. Hopefully. If not, you need to look into it. But so Venus was the last light before sunrise. It's really pretty in the morning too. Every time I'm up late, I try to go look at it. So in Numbers 24:17, they spoke of the star long before Revelation. They say a star shall come out of Jacob, a scepter shall rise out of Israel. Early Christians saw in Jesus the fulfillment of that prophecy. That was a prophecy. So Christians saw Jesus as the fulfillment of that prophecy. Well, we know some Jews today are still waiting for that to be fulfilled. But a light that not only precedes the day, but brings it. So here's the real paradox. Lucifer's light fades when the sun rises. Think about that. Christ's light is represented by the sun. One light diminishes and the other fulfills. Is that what's going on? This is what I've been thinking. Is that what it means? If we're to look at it like mythologically, psychologically, or a deeper meaning to it, is that what's really going on here? So like one is pride seeking a throne and the other is humility enthroned in glory. Or it could mean that there really is a Lucifer, an angel who is Satan with horns, who's here to tempt you, and then to hell, and if you don't do right, burn you for eternity. We're not talking about an ass whooping because you spilled too much milk or you talk back to we're talking about an eternal punishment ruled by the devil. Come on, man. All right. Anyways, so what's the other verse? Philippians 2. Paul writes that he humbled himself even to death, and therefore God exalted him. The bright morning star rises only after descending into the night. Now, why would they write that? He humbled himself even to death, and therefore God exalted him. The bright morning star rises only after descending into the night. It's a duality story. It's a mirror story. It's a duality story. It always has been, in my opinion. What do you think, Bryce? I agree with you. I just think there's more to it than just a mythology, but maybe that's just wishful thinking for me.
Yeah, there's more to it than that. I mean, there's psychological principles in there for sure, but the problem I've been having with it lately is so many people take it as ultimate truth.
Yeah. That is the truth. Like it is, there's nothing beyond that. That's the ultimate truth and nothing more, right? Hey, Joe, be a
Right.
time. What's up, Grant? What's up, Live, Laugh, Love? Yeah, you're welcome. Leaving the chat on the screen, absolutely. In the Golden Dawn, the order that always gets confused with the OTO and Aleister Crowley, which came before Aleister Crowley, they have this kind of dual mystery that you'll see in their books that show a fall before the fall, right? Before the fall, the whole Eden story. And then they also have after the fall. And they're really cool images. And it's funny, too, the Golden Dawn. Think about that. After the fall, it shows like, the serpent that's completed its rising, and you have all four elements and all four quaternaries of the zodiac, plus it has the Yod He Vav He above all of the whole riddle of the Sphinx thing. So you fall to rise, basically, right? And even, what's his name, David Bowie, talks about this in his music. I pulled this picture. I know it looks freaky, but David Bowie had a whole thing going on in his music with this too. So here's where the mystery kind of deepens a little. So light itself is not simple. We think it's simple. We've done shows with people that say, don't go to the light, it's a trick, and the light's this and that. But metaphorical light, so to speak, like light itself isn't simple. It can heal, but it can also blind you. Think of like Plato's cave. So when the prisoner first steps out of the cave, the sun's brilliance is unbearable. Right? Enlightenment kind of comes with pain sometimes. So in myth, Prometheus steals fire to give humanity knowledge. Also relates to Lucifer, but yet he is punished for it. So even in divine light or wisdom, knowledge, divine light, whatever you want to call it, if it's unprepared or unprepared would be a good word, it burns you. So maybe we're on to something. I do want to know what you think. So leave what you think about it in the chat too. This is only like an investigation. This isn't some thing where I'm teaching you or whatever. This is some stuff that I've been thinking about lately. Right. I think I have some Renaissance art too of Lucifer here. Yeah, there we go. So in the Kabbalah, there's a concept called, I'm sure you've heard Liam Thomas Christopher talk about this, but you can look it up. It's called Tzimtzum, spelled Tzim, Tzum, Tzimtzum, which means kind of God's infinite light was so vast that it had to be hidden, withdrawn, so to speak, so that creation could exist. Too much light and nothing survives. Creation begins not in brightness, but in shadow. Back to the book of Isaiah, I will give thee treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that thou may knowest that I, the Lord, which call thee by name, am the God of Israel. So perhaps this is our little paradox here. Lucifer is light, revealed before its time, consuming, proud, that kind of devilish energy that Crowley talks about in the tarot. And then Christ is light, revealed in due time, humble and redeeming, which is more of the Tiferet energy, or Buddha, or you could say the princes and knights of the tarot. But both are called, whether it's falling or rising, both are calling themselves in the Bible, one of the books that so many people think is ultimate truth, but both are calling themselves the morning star. One supposedly heralds ruin, and the other rebirth. So we know, if we're paying attention, that like even in nature, light is a double-edged sword, right? It warms the earth, but it can burn the shit out of us. It burns my skin in the summertime. It can blind us. Perhaps divine light, what I'm saying is the same. It could, only perhaps, not saying for sure, but perhaps it's the same thing. It could be a gift, but it also could be dangerous, like grace and terror intertwined. It also could mean, like when Carl Jung talks about wholeness, when we integrate the shadow, we're so focused on this war between light and dark that we forget that we're made up of light and dark. And to become whole is to integrate the shadow, not just focus on the light and let the shadow keep popping out and ruin our lives, and we just keep recycling. So maybe that's part of it, as I ramble. But I just wanted to trace the morning star through Scripture, because I was brought up Christian. It used to be like pounded into my head. I still like reading the Bible. I love the book. It's a beautiful text. But we looked into Isaiah's fallen light to Revelation's promised dawn. Fallen light, Isaiah, Revelation's promised dawn. Both say morning star, both in both books. But this paradox doesn't end here. What I want to talk about coming up, and we'll chat a little bit, I want to talk about in the second part is like kind of step deeper into the esoteric, kind of Gnostic visions of the light bearer. Maybe check out the alchemical symbol of Venus and the strange way art has kind of romanticized Lucifer even as it sanctifies Christ. And you can see that in this picture right here. This is a Renaissance picture of Lucifer. It's a bit less scary, more romantic, I think, you know. What's up, Jenny? What's up, Dutchie? Purple pencils. Doc? Dog eat dog, days of summer, then the fall. What's up, April? Grant, yeah. Anyways, you think that it's mythology, right, Bryce? But what do you mean, like, do you think there's more to it than just mythology, though, other than just being a myth?
I mean, I think there's, like any mythology, there's something that goes back to, the primal emotional state of a human being upon a realization of um of self, you know.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I don't, you know, I think it's a way of telling cool stories, you know. And
Right.
there's I don't know, it seems to be a bit of mind control in it, in some of the um organized religion.
Yeah,
know?
for sure, right? Like we
Yeah.
know that Lucifer wasn't Satan ever until Jerome and Augustine told us they were. I
Well,
mean,
what gets me,
that's what we got to look
sorry
at,
about
right?
that. Yeah, what gets me the most is when I see preachers and pastors using certain parts of the Bible to justify the points that they're trying to make, even though other parts of the Bible would directly contradict it. You know, that's what bothers me about the whole thing.
Yeah, and the book of Isaiah is fascinating text too. Like, think about this: if you ever talk to someone who's religious, I'm not saying don't be Christian. Matter of fact, we can get into that discussion. I don't mind talking about it at all. But in Isaiah, it says, I form the light. This is verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. Light and dark. There's God. If this is the word of God, for sure, then that, and you know how people say, only get the King James version. That's what my dad used to say, right? That's the real word of God before they messed it all up. Well, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. There you go. So, what you have to ask yourself is, why? If this was real, like if this was like the only God telling you, hey man, I made light and dark and I made good and evil because I'm God. Worship me. On the next, and I'm not, we'll get into the whole what I believe thing before you start pointing your finger at me or saying you're a devil or whatever. The next thing that he would say is, by the way, I'm going to give you free choice. And some of the stuff that's not good for you is going to be really tempting. And if you do it and you don't come back to me and say, I'm sorry, Daddy, I won't just whip your ass. I will burn you for eternity. There will be no suffering like it. But all you have to do is just come and say you're sorry, and that won't happen. Now, if a human treated you that way, what would we call that?
Abuse.
What do we call it? I mean, most of us, even people that aren't Christian, are afraid to say it because of their upbringing. They're afraid to say, if I say anything now, I could be damning myself. There's that fear to stick up for yourself. I could be damning myself to hell if this actually makes reasonable sense, what Joe's saying. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to go to hell. But what if Bryce is right? What if hell isn't what you think it is? What if hell is not just a metaphor, but the idea of cause and effects of sin and all this other stuff that you create in your own life? What if it really isn't a place that you're burned for eternity and suffering for? What if it's, a paradox? Or what if not a paradox, but a parable, a deeper meaning thing? Just throwing that out there for the Orthodox Christians. What if it doesn't really exist the way you think it does? And no, the devil isn't speaking through me trying to trick you. I'm just asking you to use your own mind. It's a beautiful mind that God gave you, right? So what if there really isn't a place of eternal ash and fire? Not the way we think. And the next thing I would think is, if there is, and all of that stuff is actually legit, if a human treated you that way, your boss, your dad, your parents, whoever treated you that way, what would you do? Your natural instinct would be to rebel, wouldn't it? Oh, my damned to thou hereafter all eternity. Yeah. What were you saying, Bryce? Sorry, I cut you off, man.
I was just gonna say after that verse, it sounds like as a person, I mean, I can create or I can destroy, I can bring peace, or I can create suffering. Just as a human being, I can all do that. I can do all that. So, to when you go back to Genesis and and talking about eating the fruit, the forbidden fruit, they shall know good and evil, and they shall be like us. And also, God created us in His image. So,
Right.
who's to say that? Who's to say that God just is the metaphor for human beings? We don't know for sure, but it could be.
Yeah, and remember too, like the Old Testament is written by people that were supposedly Jewish. At least that's our understanding, and that they were interpreting the messages of Yahweh. Yahweh being, if you get into the history of it, Yahweh was another Canaanite god, like Baal and all. Like I seen Micah Dank posting about this. We've talked about this several times. Like he was another god, a Canaanite god, in the mix of all the different Canaanite gods. The reason why they thought he was the ultimate god is because of I think it was the battle between him and Baal. Lightning struck or something like that, and he became Jehovah, or the ultimate god, and the god of the Hebrews, or especially these tribes. So when Jesus came into the picture, if you pay attention to the words in the text, he never said Yahweh or anything. As a matter of fact, when they questioned him about prophecy and all this other stuff, most of the time he would say, you say that I am, or that's what you say, or isn't that what it says in your text? Most of the time that's what he'd say. And that's just the short stuff that we have written about him. But because I want to get into that. I don't want people to think that I'm some devil worshiping guy that's trying to lead them down some path. I just want you to think for yourself. And if you truly are like a Christian and you believe in, let's say, the red letters in the Bible, the ones that were reported to us, I'm just asking you to look at his message a little deeper. Just knock everything else out. Let's assume that this guy came along and there was already a set religion and people worshiping idols and burning goats and doing all kinds of stuff, right? And he came along a bit more enlightened than most of them, a bit more conscious, a bit more aware, but knew his place. Maybe he knew what everybody thought, or he knew how they thought. So how's he going to get his message across to say, hey, man, I am a child of God? If you don't believe that, let me show you. Hey, and he also said, hey, so are you. Not only that, all of this stuff that you've seen me do, you're going to do more than that. They said, well, are you saying you're the one that's fulfilled the prophecy? And what did he say? He didn't go, I'm God. He goes, you say that I am. Or I am that I am. And that I am was a kind of a big deal. If you said that, that means that's God. So they looked at him and said, he's saying he's God. There's a lot of projecting going on. So, to the Christians that I know listen to this show, I love you. Do I believe that a man named Jesus Christ walked the face of the earth? I don't know if his name was Jesus. Do I believe that he was alive? Yeah. Do I believe that he was crucified? Yeah. Her whole timeline's based upon it. There are writers that don't have anything to do with the Bible that wrote about the stuff that was going on at that time. Do I have proof? No. But I know that there were that he moved people so much. There were so many people that died in horrible ways for what he taught them and what they witnessed. That's what I know. Do I think they got the story right? Do I think they represented him properly in these books? Highly unlikely. Not to say they're not beautiful texts. They are. Highly unlikely. So, or we can get into the whole like were we seeded by aliens thing, because that kind of goes along with it, the whole Prometheus rising kind of deal. But
Oh, real quick. I have been told that there are documents that that in the Vatican that more or less prove that Jesus was around at that time that he was crucified. Do I know that for a fact? No. But you know, it's I think it's a story of a man who came onto this earth and saw what was going on and saw how divisive all the religions were and just tried to tell everybody to love each other, but he raised a big stink doing it. And that's probably what got him punished that way. Just somebody trying to say, hey, just be kind to each other, and got irritated at the fact that we couldn't let that go.
yeah, treat everybody the way you want to be treated. Love everybody. It's the golden rule, man. That's all it is. And if you, like Jesus back then, it would be like today's NASA physicist. Honestly, today is NASA physicist talking about consciousness, and then I'll just keep it at that. You're here to help people. You're here to love people. You're here to increase your awareness, increase your consciousness, and grow your soul, and that kind of thing. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but like, there's no real solid proof of everything being as literal as the text say it to be, though. There's only proof, which would stand up in the court of law today, eyewitness proof that there was a man that people worshiped. He's been called by all kinds of different names. Jesus, like I said, Yeshua. I know that Daskalos called him Yahshua. Whatever they called him. And he had a massive following. And our whole timeline's based around his life and death. Something happened. That's a fact. I also know this, that when, the doc says, I'm an independent spiritual contractor, not beholding to either side. I hear you on that, man. Like, I definitely understand that. So I hear you on that. So also know this, like, when people get in dire trouble, too, they'll use his name, and it works a lot of the time. Now, that could be because of like the placebo kind of thing, because it's deeply buried into him. Like, everything that is buried into us when we're a child, also collectively, could work. That might be why he also said, there's a whole lot of people that use my name, but I never knew them. You know what I'm saying? But no OBE people have met him. I don't think, that the ones I read or whatever. Here's another Renaissance painting. See how kind of dramatic and beautiful they make it. The first one was Lucifer falling, and the second one was Christ rising. Just thought that's a little interesting thing to check out. In the Golden Dawn teachings, when you go through the first stages of magic, or the four elements, you're kind of introduced to the movements of the sun, this idea of birth, death, and resurrection, and this force called Luke's energy. The only time that you use Jesus's name is in the Rose Cross ritual, and that's to protect yourself. Like, you vibrate his name in all these different corners to make this force field around you. When you get into the inner order in this occult, I'm not talking about the OTO, I'm talking about the Golden Dawn. So they start out kind of Egyptian, and when you get into the inner order, it becomes way more like Christian. There's more, not just angel and names, but it's more centered around the idea of the teachings of Jesus. Not Orthodox Christian at all, but more centered around that. So that might explain why Aleister Crowley dipped when he became an adept, because when you become an adept, That's when you move into phase 2 of the mysteries, or the inner order and the Golden Dawn. And all that Egyptian stuff might have been really cool and really inspiring to him, but because his dad beat Orthodox Christianity into his head, once he started learning, they're using all these Christian names, they're just, what did he say in that movie, The Beast? You're all stifled and you're afraid to move on, stuff like that. Like, he got kind of pissed about it and decided to move on, But I think all this stuff has a deeper meaning. But I want to get more into the Gnostic stuff. Like, I've got to take a short break here, and then I want to know what you guys think too. Like, it's okay to say what you think. Like, the real big question tonight is esoterically, why does both Jesus Christ and Lucifer call themselves the morning star? Not just in the Bible, but the whole idea of it. Is there a deeper meaning to it? Is there some big mystery to it? What do you think? Let me know. And we'll be right back. Stay with us. It's all
didn't want to know. I just didn't want to know. Best to keep things in the shallow end, 'cause I never quite learned how to swim. I just didn't want to know. I didn't want. Close my eyes just to look at you, taken by the seamless vision. And I close my eyes, ignore the smoke, ignore the smoke, ignore the smoke. Just ignore the smoke and smile. Calling out the machines, turning blue, such a lovely color for you. Calling out the machines, turning blue, such a perfect color for your eyes. Calling out the turning blue, such
I love a perfect circle, man. All right, so we're back. I think I found a way too where I can play more cool music on YouTube like that. That's not, anyways. I would love to be able to play what songs I want to, but as long as we're on YouTube, like, it's not like having the radio station where you can just play whatever. But I think I might have found a workaround tonight. I'm here with Bryce in the Discord background and you in the chat. And we're talking about this Morning Star thing. The paradox of why both Lucifer is called the Morning Star, and in Revelations, Christ called himself the Morning Star. It was the only one of the things that Bill Cooper said that he did not quite understand back during his radio show. If you guys are big fans of Bill Cooper, then you remember him saying that, right? This paradox of why this is a thing. And all I'm really trying to do here tonight with you here in the late night is to get you to think a little. I'm not trying to convince you to go one side, like Doc says. You know, you're an independent spiritual contractor. Is that what you called yourself? To unloosen the walls that are around you so that you can explore your consciousness and awareness a little bit more. So if you do have an out-of-body experience or a psychedelic experience or just a spiritual experience, maybe that your beliefs and our beliefs won't get in the way. This is why we discuss these things. But, so yeah, in the first hour, we saw like how the morning star can mean both, maybe, fallen light and redeeming dawn. But in our crazy shadows, and that's what they are, by the way, shadows of history, mystics and esoteric thinkers took the symbol a little further into hidden meanings that are rarely spoken from pulpits in church. So in the Gnostic text, if any of you guys ever get into that, light is not just hope. It's also secret knowledge, like a spark trapped in matter. And Christ is the revealer of this inner light. But Lucifer, for some, he became like a distorted mirror, or the impulse to grasp illumination without the wisdom to hold on to it. And in the Kabbalah, light is layered. So the morning star aligns with Tiferet, the sphere of beauty. And I know I always like to pull up the Etz Chaim or the Kabbalistic tree. It's a fun thing to do, just to pull up pictures. So this tree here, that yellow sphere in the middle, known as Tiferet, a perfect balance between heaven and earth, and perfect balance between alpha and omega, or positive and negative, and masculine and feminine, if you want to look at it that way. But it's that yellow sphere right there in the middle. That's what Christ kind of represents in the Kabbalah and perhaps Gnosticism too. So, so there's the sphere of beauty, that's what it's called, which is a balance of kind of mercy and judgment. But if you look at the tree and you've studied it and you've like listened to some of the videos we've done, we know that the Kabbalists kind of were teaching that, especially the Hermetic Kabbalists, we're teaching that it's a balance and kind of a perfection or a harmony. I don't want to say perfection because none of us are perfect, but a harmony between all of those. But when light fractures, we can see it maybe in the shadow of Gabora, the red sphere, where it's severe and consuming and demanding. So same source, kind of two reflections. And if we bump along in the timeline, we will get to Hermetic philosophy. And by the way, no, I don't think Hermetic philosophy is the ultimate truth. It's a philosophy. That's it. That's why it's called philosophy. And if you want to really learn a lot about how that even came about, the history of it, kind of what it all means, Manly P. Hall has like 6 hours of lectures on Hermetic philosophy that are, I don't know how to put it into words. One of the best, it's fucking amazing. It's one of the best things I've ever heard about Hermetic philosophy, but we know it as above, so below. So Venus, that morning star that we see right before sunrise, but we also could say the morning star appears both at dawn and dusk, a light of beginnings and endings. So to the Hermeticists, it symbolized transition, an in-between state where opposites meet. Christ descending and ascending, Lucifer rising and falling. One circle of light seen from two different angels, maybe. But even the mystics kind of spoke in whispers. Especially back in the day, they'd get their heads cut off, right? But I think they spoke in whispers, saying, could Lucifer be the shadow that makes Christ's radiance visible? Is enlightenment without humility merely pride dressed in light? And I don't think that when we look into more than religion, like let's say we take a deep dive into art, music, all the songs we've heard, all the movies that we've seen, the stories, and Joseph Campbell's kind of arcanic mythologies there. Like, this paradox didn't just stay in theology or religion or mysticism. It seeped into all of our art and all of our music and our literature, where our imagination often dares to go where these doctrines, I guess you could say, didn't. Some examples I've got written here that most of us know about are Milton's Paradise Lost, where his Lucifer isn't really like scary or grotesque. It's just tragic. And he stands in defiance. That whole better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Tons of music, literature, and art have been written about that. And for centuries, that line stirred something deep in most of our readers and listeners to these songs, or readers of books. Was this kind of rebellion? We know several authors that proclaim, no, it wasn't rebellion. It was courage to be yourself. That's for you to decide. William Blake also, in The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, saw these kind of contraries as necessary. And without the contraries, we can't progress. Light needs shadow. Heaven needs its rebel to define its boundaries. And so William Blake kind of dared to paint Lucifer almost as a liberator. And at his time, I know it's a messed up thing to say even today, but in William Blake's time, it was a really messed up thing to say, and even music and gospel, Jesus is sung about. Of course, I was raised in a Southern Baptist. I could probably still sing a lot of those songs today, but Jesus is sung about as the morning star, the bringer of eternal light. In rock and metal, Lucifer's name becomes an anthem of defiance and individualism. Like that picture, I have that David Bowie dressed up as the Lucifer Rising, or the Velvet Underground's Shadowed Glamour. So visual art tells its own tales, kind of like we have the picture of the Renaissance paintings too. I think I got ahead of myself before, but I love Renaissance art. I think it was meant to just be stared at forever. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, Lucifer Falling, is that the one? Renaissance art is beautiful. It tells us this tale, like, that they rendered Lucifer's fall with beauty. Golden wing, some of the pictures even burning as he plunged like a star dimming into darkness, while Christ's ascension becomes something entirely different. It's like an ascension that beams with near identical radiance. And I know that some of you that think in deeper symbolism, maybe it'll help you understand the difference between the upright pentagram and the reverse pentagram. One represent the falling of our nature, our focus on our pride and ego, and kind of so rebellious that, like the devil card. I mean, I think, let me see if I got the old devil card here from, I think I do, from Rider Waite. He has the reversed pentagram on his head there. So this kind of represents that focus, you know. It is light. Knowledge, it is that fire that burns us up, so to speak, but it keeps us trapped until we become redeemed. It is actually a part of alchemy. This is a whole story of alchemy, really. But I just don't want, like people to look. I used to laugh at how people would be scared of pentagrams, whether they were upright or inverted. It would just freak out so many people. But when you see both sides of things and what they really mean, and you become unafraid of them, that it has deeper meanings to you. Two figures painted with the same palette, just one goes one way and the other way. So I kind of want to know what you think, because this is all the stuff that's been on my mind. I think about a lot of things, but I've thought about this from time to time. So do you see the morning star as salvation or rebellion? Is Lucifer truly the enemy? Because we know he wasn't Satan per se. Like, that's a whole different story. He wasn't Satan until the church fathers made him so. So I'm not trying to get you to worship Lucifer, okay? But is Lucifer truly the enemy, or just a misunderstood symbol of dangerous knowledge? Right. What do you think, Bryce? I'm going to look at the chat. It's it's not something you go up on the street and ask people, hey, when you hear the word Lucifer, what does it make you think?
That's an area that I'm not too familiar with. I mean, I wouldn't go around worshiping Lucifer.
Sure.
If that's what you mean.
Yeah, I get that.
But,
there's no right or wrong answer. Just what comes to your mind when you hear it. That usually tells us what our programming is,
I mean, a lot of times when I hear people do say, talk about Satan worship or worshiping Lucifer, I think they have a misconception of the whole thing, for one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, one thing I hear is I'm gonna sit by the right hand of the devil. Well, let me just tell you that according to the Bible, God created the devil and let the devil get away with all kinds of stuff in his name just to scare you into worshiping God. So, I mean, is it really the same thing if you worship the devil instead of God, just in spite of the whole thing? I mean, it's kind of a moot point. It's kind of a redundancy,
The devil is a sly old fox, the flux capacitor says. Man, I wish I need to steal that handle. No, I totally agree with you. I totally agree. Like, when I hear that, every time now, like when I hear the word Lucifer, I think of the Prometheus story or the planet Venus. That's the first thing I think of. It's like, the morning star. I don't think of the devil, even though I was brought up in that storyline. I don't think it's the devil. But I also like the deeper thing of how light comes into your life whenever you have an enlightenment or a mystical experience. A bigger question would be, hey, like has light ever came into your life in a way that felt both illuminating, like an aha illuminating moment, but also unsettling, like it came in and screwed shit up? Yeah, dude, I could think of that on multiple occasions, right? Like where you have a mystical moment or a download or some type of deeper understanding, some type of enlightenment, and it comes into your life. And instead of, you just being this Buddha or Christ-like person, it just shakes up not just your life in a practical way, but in an interior way too, right? The whole idea of death, birth, and resurrection, LVX, so to speak, takes on a whole deeper meaning there, or maybe can like enlightenment exist without danger, without shadow? Would it even be possible? Or is it possible that both names, Lucifer and Jesus, show two sides of how we experience the divine, so to speak? I think that's a lot easier that's a doorway to start thinking about things on a conscious level, and you won't have to sell your soul or go to hell or any of that stuff, I think what bothers me the most about these stories, because I find them beautiful, but also I think a lot of the Hebrew texts are beautiful. I think the Quran is a beautiful text. I think a lot of the Buddhist and Hindu texts are beautiful. What bothers me is when, me personally, is when we start killing each other over these ideas, or we hate each other over these beliefs, or we segregate each other because one person doesn't think that salvation exactly means the same thing that you do, or whatever, you know. That's when stuff gets real stupid. Let's see, bending the matrix, Joe? Necessary evil, perhaps? Or can you have progress without pain? Yeah, that's a good question. I think when wisdom starts coming into your life, also remember like that the Kabbalists didn't let people back in the day, right? They didn't let people study the Jewish mysteries until they were closer to their 40s for a reason. Not because you're stupid when you're younger. It's just after you've had so much life experience and experienced so many painful things, that's when wisdom sets in. I think that's what wisdom is. Like, you take all of your painful, enlightening experiences that you've had, and you learn how to have a more fulfilling life due to that wisdom, due to the enlightenment of the pain. So when you're older, you're wiser, you know. You don't have to go through the pains if you don't want to. You can see things coming down the road. Yeah. And two, I tried to find more songs like that represent this, but then I started realizing, damn, you know, like every song and every movie, every hero's journey thing, everything that we that moves us like that has this story in it, this falling and rising, or this death and resurrection story. But what strikes me in conversations when I talk to people about this, and some of the stuff that I see in chat, is how personal this question is. Like the morning star isn't just scripture, it's a mirror. Some see hope, others see a warning. And perhaps maybe both are true is what I'm saying. It was a weird thing I thought about when I went outside the other night and I looked at the sky and saw just how bright Venus was. I was like, man, that is bright. It almost looks like it doesn't belong there. You know, it's so freaking bright. But also think that this is the key to a lot of the Western mysteries, just to be honest with you. One of the biggest alchemical keys. Because in most of the rituals, whether it's Freemasonry or the occult world or whatever, you face the East. The East is important. What happens in the East? Well, in the East, in our night sky, at least in my night sky, I don't know about your matrixy sky, but in mine, a lot of the times Venus is right there. And then once Venus fades, obviously the sun rises in the East. Does that mean we're sun worshipers? Does that mean we're worshiping the sun? No. It doesn't mean that we think the sun is God and that we're worshiping the sun. It's kind of like, it's more of like I guess you could say you understand what it means on a deep level in your heart so much that it's worth adoring, not worshiping. But then again, we did watch Constantine the other night, and they were facing the East, right? Does that freak you out? You ever done that? You ever thought about that? Like, why did all of the, is it evil to face East, Bryce? As soon as you start talking about that, some people get really freaked out, man. What do you mean?
No,
Like,
the Muslims do it.
yeah.
I mean, does that make, I don't know. I guess it depends on your view of the Muslims, but it's also where the sun rises. So, I mean, the start of a new beginning. You witness the sunrise. It's it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not at all. Just remember that. Like, if you're up at, like I am, if you're a late nighter, do it tonight. If the stars are out where you are and it's like it's the witching hour or past that, just before dawn, just go check out the morning star just for a moment. It's the brightest light in the sky. And then if you watch it long enough, just like that, it'll vanish. And not really, that's what you kind of notice. Not really into darkness, but something greater. Then the sun rises and day has come. And maybe the answer that Lucifer is the light that fades. It brings the light, then it fades. And Christ is the light that fulfills. One is rebellion against the dawn, and the other is the dawn. You guys ever seen the cover of the Golden Dawn? It doesn't just represent that whole idea, but it also represents the idea of birth, death, and resurrection. Or if you watch Star Wars, what is the Force? You remember when Luke was asking, what's her name, what the Force is? Rey, son Rey. What is the Force? She tells him everything that we just said. So if you don't like all this stuff, just go to Star Wars. If you do like all this stuff, then pick up St. John of the Cross, where he wrote, like, in the dark night of the soul, bright flows the river of God. Maybe in our own darkness, we see glimmers of light, some true, some bullshit. But it's only when, quote, the sun rises that we know which was which. And that's just, I wanted to get that kind of off of my chest. And if you are an Orthodox Christian or a Christian or even a Christian mystic, and you listen to this broadcast on our corner of the late night over here all the way through, then God bless you. Just want you to think a little bit about that. And tell me what you think. Email the show at lightingthevoid@gmail.com. I don't have anything else to talk about. I don't want to talk about that spaceship yet. I think it's a spaceship, man. Maybe we should do some predictions, though. Flux Capacitor says, I see it every morning when I'm driving to work. It's really cool when it sit inside the crescent moon. Yeah, it does look cool when it does that. I like when it does that. I don't know, man. I'm just a night person. I've always loved late night. I've always loved... It's like my energy peaks at night. Maybe it was because I was born at night. I love sunsets more than sunrises, though. Just a lover of the dark, a lover of the late night. But we're going to roll out of here, guys. The next time we broadcast, I think I kind of want to talk about this. I want to get more information on it, though, and then maybe have a discussion about this object that's coming into our solar system. I mean, if you really look at the facts, it is kind of strange. Only because of the probability of it. They're saying that it could be just space junk, but I don't think so. The probability of where it's headed, like the planets that it's going to go closest to, being behind the sun like that, it's weird, man. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you guys please check that out. Anything else you want to say, Bryce, before we get out of here?
I can't really think of anything.
Nothing. Oh, I can. So we're starting we haven't come up with a name yet. All right. But we're starting our own Hellfire Club over on the Discord. So if you're interested in, like D&D, of course, D&D, we're talking about Lucifer and the Morning Star. Then we're going to end it with Dungeons and Dragons, which, by the way, they said back in the 70s was devil worship. So I swear I'm not trying to turn you to the dark side. But if you're interested in hanging out like once a week and doing that with us, man, we're starting our own little thing in there. And it's fun. We've actually already started it. So make sure you join the Discord. And if you're interested in that, ask about it. Help us come up with a name for the club. We can't call it Hellfire, but we want to call it something like that. Maybe make some T-shirts. Thank you guys for all of your love, support, and the new listeners. And we'll be back broadcasting soon. Here's another track by Perfect Circle. Night, y'all. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Love you.